Congressman Brad Ashford from Nebraska's 2nd District, thank you for joining us.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for asking me to join you.
So just for starters, I understand you have a very urban district, but can you tell us how agriculture is important to your district?
Well, our district is urban, but certainly many of my constituents are from the farm, are from rural Nebraska, from Kansas and South Dakota and Iowa, have moved into Omaha. So many of my constituents have farm backgrounds. Also, we're an agribusiness center. ConAgra is located in Omaha. Gavilon, a major commodities trading company, I think 2nd largest in the world, is located in Omaha. AGP is in Omaha, and then numbers of the banks, of course, that work with farms around the Midwest, so rural Nebraska. It's a huge part of our state's economy. It is by far the largest part of the economy, as you can imagine. So, and we traditionally haven't had a member. I wanted to be, we spent last year in the legislature working on a significant water bill. And though I was chair of the Judiciary Committee, many of my colleagues worked on this water bill, basically, kind of stemming from the Republican River issue in Nebraska and Kansas. And so we did a whole plan for water in our state, and that got me interested in some of the rural aspects of the water issues. But, and my family came to Nebraska in the 1850s from Ireland to Dakota County in northeast Nebraska, and they were farmers and ranchers, and, for many generations. So.
Now you have an extensive background both in public service and as a judge. So how does that legal experience, whether it's serving as a judge or even working with the Highway Transportation Administration?
Oh yeah, that's going way back.
How does that time help you as a congressman and as a member of the Ag Committee?
Really, my service in the Nebraska unicameral legislature, we have a unicameral legislature in Nebraska. It's nonpartisan, 49 members. We are very collaborative, and as I mentioned, the water bill, which quite frankly is very significant, many issues involved in it. We passed it 49-0. So we have this ability to come together and work through issues, and then generally get those matters passed almost unanimously. So by experience there in the unicameral for 16 years, dealing with rural issues, ag issues, natural resources issues, tie into the legal system, obviously, in Nebraska. So it all ties together. And really, it's a tremendous honor to represent those interests in our state. It's a lot of fun for me.
Now, you've said that you want to improve the lives of ag workers in your state and across the country. What are some ways that you can do that as a member of the House Ag Committee?
And I've spent a lot of time working on many aspects of that. Rural development of alternative sources of jobs in Nebraska. We've spent a tremendous amount of time developing our community college system, our K-12 system, and providing. For example, we've developed in Grand Island, Nebraska, in the public schools there, a career academy to teach, welding and sort of automotive, other types of careers for individuals who live in rural Nebraska who need income other than just from the farm. So I'm constantly now on the outlook for. And another bill that we just did was to encourage or incent law school graduates from the University of Nebraska to go into rural Nebraska to work. I mean, there are counties in Nebraska that don't have any lawyers, and we have 93 counties. Many have no lawyers, and many a town like McCook, which is a relatively sort of medium-sized Nebraska town, has lost half its lawyers in just the last few years. And what that means is when you have so many families, the farm families who have estate issues, trust issues, conservator issues, guardianship issues, we've had legal representation is critical. So we've been able to fund by providing payment of back of their student loans if they'll go into rural Nebraska. That's a big deal. We also, like other states, rural states have had difficulty with meth and other drugs coming into the state, and especially with juveniles, and having lawyers trained working in rural Nebraska to help those young people find ways to get out of that problem. So it's just building up capacity, mental health capacity, rural health generally. Those are all huge issues for me that I've worked on a lot.
Now, you mentioned your experience legislatively is in a nonpartisan environment. So when you decided to take the step and kind of go that next level and run for public service in Washington, what was it that made you want to run as a Democrat?
Well, that's what I was, actually. But I had been a Republican most of my career, and as I got to the end of I was term limited. We have term limits in Nebraska, which is not something I really encourage for a state with a nonpartisan unicameral, but that's what we have. I had to change parties. I didn't have any intention of running again for office, but the seat opened, or the opportunity to run opened up. So I honestly, I think very little of party. It never enters my head, ever. I mean, it's everybody else's head. It constantly enters into their heads, but I constantly don't think about it. And that's because our tradition really isn't that way. We don't even have conference committees. We don't have caucuses. We don't have any of that stuff. So we take issues as they come. And bringing that message back here, another great issue for farmers in Nebraska, we had a senator named George Norris who came here from McCook, and he was from McCook, Nebraska, and he passed the Rural Electrification Act in 1932, which electrified rural America, and was responsible for the Tennessee Valley Authority. Mm-hmm. So we have this tradition of government and the farm community in rural Nebraska coming together for the good of the cause, and that's a very meaningful tradition. And going back even further, William James Bryan, who ran for president 3 times as a Democrat from Nebraska, in his famous Cross of Gold speech, talked about the farmers and being freed up from the yoke of Wall Street and so forth. So I mean, we have a tradition of populism in our state that dates back to its beginnings.
Congressman Brad Ashford from Nebraska's 2nd District, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.